Please always consult with your physicians prior to making any changes to your treatment plan. Welcome to Living with Scanxiety, the Cancer Podcast, a podcast geared to help you navigate the pediatric cancer world. As a mother of a child who battled a soft tissue sarcoma for over a year, your host, Rosaria Kozar, understands and will help guide you through your journey. She brings the knowledge of experts, families, survivors, and other organizations tied to the pediatric cancer world to your doorstep. Her mission is to inform, support, and promote hope for you and your family.
You know, I have nightmares about it sometimes, and I know Mia wakes up and has nightmares about it, and she just not being able to understand this whole situation and why she's different and why she has to be hurt is the hardest thing, the most confusing thing for her, and the hardest thing for the parent to try and get that message to her.
Hi, this is Rosaria, and I have Chad Ehlers. He is a father of a child battling leukemia, and he's a speaker, influencer, and the founder of Chad Change. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I'm so happy you could be here today. I know that you have a really busy schedule. Right now, you're working on some advocacy and want to talk about that?
Yeah, so I have a petition right now. I started the petition maybe 4 days ago, and it's a petition to increase the funding, the federal funding, research funding that we have for childhood cancer. Reason why is because we get a low 4%. It has been that way for a while, and it's never really been challenged. So this petition is basically to challenge that, and I believe we can get 4% to 8%. And, you know, even the 4% that is promised to be given doesn't necessarily make it to the research hospitals every year. A lot of people don't realize that. But, you know, childhood cancer is considered rare, is one of the reasons that they say, you know, that they don't put that much money into the funding for research. But, you know, there's September is like the only month that they have staff working full time to try and find a cure or to try and find better ways to treat these patients. This will basically provide year-round funding to help pay salaries for these researchers and doctors to actually work full-time, period, on finding a cure.
Absolutely. We need something. So why are you just aiming to double it?
I don't think it's so. After looking, and I had to hire an attorney because, you know, I don't know that much about all the laws and politics. But, you know, after discussing it with them and going over, you know, the budget and all that stuff, that's what he thought, in his opinion, too, that would be plausible to ask for, considering what would be left and then where the rest of the funding is spent.
I think it's genius because baby steps are key. And if you try to say like 4% to 50%, that's huge. But just doubling it, I think, is key. So I think it's a great thing. I've already have my name on it.
We do fundraisers all the time, and we donate to childhood cancer research. But, you know, even if we had 20 large influencers who did this for 10 years, you know, and we raised millions and millions and millions of dollars, it still wouldn't touch 4% because 4% is a lot of money. But when that's spread throughout, you know, the United States for all the families and all the research, that's not that much. Mm-hmm. So it's huge for people to raise that kind of money, but it's not that huge for us to make a petition to ask for the funding to be increased. That way we can raise enough to cover that. And that's going to be for the rest of, you know, whatever time until they change it, as opposed to us trying to raise money, because that's just a lot of money to raise.
Yeah, it's over $1 billion.
Yeah.
But when we say that in terms of the government and $1 billion, that's actually not a lot. Like you just said.
Them. It's huge for us.
Yeah, if I had that in pocket change, I wouldn't be complaining. But when it comes to bigger things like this, that's huge.
Yeah.
So you are also, can we talk about your story as a father going through this?
Yeah. So Mia, she was one when she was diagnosed. She was diagnosed July 15th, 2020. She will finish treatment. Her last treatment is September 21st of 2022. So we still got a little bit to go, but for the most part, I feel like the worst of it is over, knock on wood, because anything can happen. As you know, with cancer, it's all the stuff that affects you from the side that you didn't expect to happen, like infections and stuff that usually throw off the treatment. And she just got COVID, and we made it through that, so she's doing better. But this has been a very emotional journey for me. See, I was a nurse for 10 years. And I worked in the hospital and I worked with cancer patients, and I felt for them, but it's not the same. It's definitely not the same. Whenever your own child is diagnosed, it breaks your heart. I think the worst part of, everyone's always asking me, the worst part is that she's at that age where she doesn't understand what's going on. So, the small things, I tell people, like accessing the port, and I posted those videos, and, I keep it very realistic. I do show the script because that's what we go through. That's what parents go through. That's what the children go through. It's not going to be a video of her all the time, playing with dolls and smiling, because that's not real. People will get up and do something when they see the realness of what's going on to these families. So in the video, she's screaming the top of her lungs, because they're accessing her port. They put numbing cream on and all that stuff. So it's not necessarily that it hurts her, it's the fear, it's the terror, it's the not knowing what's going on. All of a sudden, the two people that love you the most in the whole world, your parents, are holding you down and letting these people do things to you that don't feel comfortable. And, she screams at the top of her lungs. There's times where I could see her little shoulder moving whenever she was trying to pull up, and would about dislocate her shoulder from trying to get away. It's so hard to do this to your kid. And you just want more than anything in the world for them to understand that you're trying to help them, and you're not trying to hurt them, and they're going to be okay. And this is just to help them, but they don't understand that. So I think that's the worst part of it, is having to go through that. And I tell, and I've told, and I put in a petition too, there's a lot of trauma that goes on, and it's, the kids go through a lot of trauma, but the parents too. It's just the most unnatural feeling you will ever feel in the whole world, is holding your child down to be harmed. And it makes you want to throw up. It does. And, Mia's mom, some of the videos, she's not on there doing this. And that's one of the reasons why. She literally feels like she's going to throw up in the middle of it. But that stuff doesn't go away, that we may be done with that. We got to go tomorrow for this. But we may be done with that treatment from last week or from a year ago, but, I still think about them quite often. And, I have nightmares about it sometimes. And I know Mia wakes up and has nightmares about it. And she just not being able to understand this whole situation and why she's different and why she has to be hurt, is the hardest thing, the most confusing thing for her, and the hardest thing for the parent to try and get that message to her. And yes, she may understand when she's older, but again, it's the fact that it doesn't erase the trauma that happens to kids. And then worse, you'll never feel like, everyone, the ringing the bell is great. That's the goal. That's what we want, right? Relapse is very common. And I think you even told me on when we did the Instagram, like you have that constant lingering fear. If it's just a tummy ache or something, is it back? Is the cancer back? And that's something that we get to live with the rest of our life, is we're always going to worry a little bit more. And, every time that cancer comes back, it your chances, your percentages go down. And it's just, there's a lot of families. And we have a lady that we had on Instagram on the Chat Change account the other day. Her name is Esther. Actually, yes, we're doing the Chicago event, and we're going to be helping out. I believe it's Lurie's Children's Hospital. There's another hospital too that we're talking to, so we don't know the final say on it yet. But her child had leukemia, and we put the story on there. But she went through the first cycle, made it through. I think she was 8 at the time. She was 5 when she was diagnosed, but 8 when she ended up going through another cycle after all that treatment and stuff, and she passed. And it was, my heart goes out to you in your story. My heart goes out to all these families, and I tell myself this every day. I'm doing all this stuff. I'm exhausting myself trying to get the attention of congressmen and all this stuff to get this petition noticed. These videos, when I started these videos, this was the plan. The videos were going to be a journey of my child going through this to raise awareness. And I promised myself to make these videos real, because I don't want to show them, we need more research. This has to stop. And then show them all the videos of her smiling, being happy. She's got a shaved head, but hey, she's walking with a balloon and laughing, and you'll see a lot of those advertisements of childhood cancer. And it bothers me because there's so many nights we wake up and she's screaming, even the oral chemo, and she's got real bad stomach issues with it. And, she'll wake up, my tummy's hurting, and just start crying. And you're sitting there, you don't know what to do. You can't do anything. You can give her pain medicine. But, at the same time, you don't want to give your little tiny baby bunch of narcotics. So you're sitting there trying to comfort her, console her. And that's what the whole purpose was. So now we're pushing past 500 and some odd days of doing this and keeping it journaled, so that the world can see the journey that she has to go through. And, people will stand up and do something and realize, what, we can't watch this happen to kids. And, even the stories on Chat Change and the people and all the families and parents who've lost their children, we can't continue to watch this happen. We have to do something about it because we have the means to do it. Yes, NASA research. I love science, but, do we really need to spend all the money on NASA research? Do we really need to put all the money there? Or even, cancer. So cancer research. And, there was something that somebody was telling me that, the cancer research they do for adults can help too, but that's not necessarily true, with some of the childhood cancers, as you know. And especially when you're wanting to find out, the whole background of a disease, especially when they don't have a clue where it starts, how it starts, the genetic dispositions of it or anything. So, even being able to determine or find out or test to find kids earlier, because a lot of them make it too late and end up having a horrible chance of surviving. So
I like how you told the story in a different way than typically is told. And I mean, you say like the diagnosis date, but the story is so much deeper than that. Like you said, there's a lot more that goes on, and you put that out there on your social media, Instagram, TikTok. Do you have YouTube?
I have one, but I don't really use it.
Okay. So Instagram and TikTok, all these videos.
And recently, Facebook. I've started doing Facebook last month, and the community there has been very supportive, and it's about to hit like 200,000 followers, and they've been sharing the petition and stuff. So yeah.
And when we call you an influencer, just in case people don't know, what is it?
So basically, I don't like the term influencer, but it is what I am. We are the people that go on social media and, either we share a journaled life, or I started off dancing, doing dances and teaching dance, and I had no plans on my daughter getting diagnosed with cancer. So that completely threw us through. I was, but it's almost like it was called to do that at the time, because I had stopped working in the hospital. I started teaching dance and doing motivational speaking and stuff like this. And then she was diagnosed. And I remember being in the hospital, days with her on the first week and telling myself, I'm so lucky. Like, I am so lucky, because if this would happen, I'd still been working in the hospital, full-time job. Like, I couldn't just leave. And I'm able to be at home. I'm able to be there anytime I'm needed. Me and her mom co-parent. We co-parent pretty well. But anytime that I'm needed or she's needed or we're having issues with anything, or the whole time she was, being on tube feeding, her mom wasn't real familiar with that and stuff. I was able to take her and be there with her and for her throughout the whole thing. And I haven't, all these appointments that we're doing like every week, I'm able to be that dad that I never was. I feel like it has made our bond closer, because originally we didn't agree with putting kids on social media. And I still don't necessarily agree with it. But I do whenever it is for childhood cancer advocacy of awareness. So I do definitely, because something has to be done about it. But basically, influencer is we influence the audience of the crowd, by sharing a story or telling. And most of the time, when people think of that, they think about us selling like products.
Some do, right?
Yeah. Well, we all do, because that is part of our job. That's how we get paid, is by sponsorship. But yeah, that's my platform's a little bit different, of course, because I'll do those videos because, yes, I still have to make a living and provide for my family. But also, yes, a lot of my stuff now is all about childhood cancer and all about our life at home and going through it daily. Even if it is, we do a lot of dancing and stuff and happy stuff still, because I don't want people to get the wrong idea and think that we're just miserable all the time. But yeah, and then I show the detailed, stuff of us not, and the stuff of her suffering.
Yeah.
And what it's like. And, also it's been good because her doctors, her medical staff, they keep up with it too. So they see the media and stuff. So they know what's going on and how to treat and what kind of pain is she having? Is it sharp? Is it dull? Where's it at? They see the video, so they know.
Yeah.
So that's been a helpful thing for us as well. And just in general, I need to keep from going crazy. And I definitely understand and feel for these families and these parents and these kids, mostly for the parents, of course, because that's my side of it. But I feel for them 100%. Like, you have the right to go crazy. I feel crazy now after doing this for so long. And I get it. Like, I get it. I get how you feel. It has been, because you do. And journaling. This is my way of journaling, is using video creation basically to express myself I put a lot of words on my videos that say, this is how I'm feeling. This is what I feel, what I'm going through. Because it's like a documented journal. But being able to vent and get that out, so you don't fall apart, has also been very therapeutic for me. It's a coping mechanism, almost, you can say.
Exactly. So an influencer influences, but you mentioned before how you put both good days and bad days up there. And then you also have this vlog, essentially, that helps you and helps process the trauma. And that's what it is. It's traumatic. Like you said, holding your daughter down. For me, holding my son down to get the tube in. And I'm sure that you had experience with that, which probably helps you a little bit with what questions to ask, how to go about it. So do you have any suggestions for parents, caregivers, what they can ask or what they can do during these appointments, or better ways to handle things in appointments, since you kind of have that medical background?
Yeah. So I've met a lot of families that were on social media and sharing their children's, story and journey as well. In fact, like one of them, I just posted a video and they picked up ideas on my videos and started using the same ideas and was like, thank you so much. But yeah, journaling is something to help you through it. And if they, being able to look back, you don't want to look back and say, I wish I had journaled this or took this or made a video or something daily of their fight, because when they get through it, if they make it through it, God, please help them. But the thing is, you want them to look back at their fight and see that they were a warrior. They weren't like other kids. They were confused, but they fought through it throughout the whole process. They made it. You're strong. You're amazing. Don't let anyone ever tell you that you're not. You might not have thrown touchdowns. And everyone, as a parent, you have pride in your kids. And it doesn't matter what your kids do. You see, I see it as I'm no different from that dad who is sitting there filming, running down the football field, holding the camera for his son while his son's making a touchdown. And he's just like, wow, yeah, throwing, that's how I feel about my videos with Mia, is I'm that dad who's just really proud of my kid. She's fighting cancer. She's winning right now. And, I'm screaming and I'm on the sidelines cheering her on. Like, that's the way I see it. But that does help. That will help you parents. And when you're in procedures, the best I can tell you is to keep your mind busy. And I work crazy all the time, definitely workaholic right now, mostly, of course, when I don't have Mia, because of trying to keep my mind busy, because I don't want to sit down and just start thinking about everything, So, and I think being able to feel like I can do something, because, we all agree it's a helpless type of situation, because you can't stop cancer. You can't take it out of her, and you can't do anything but hold her down and watch. You can't make her stop crying. You can't, convince her that she's going to be okay. What can you do? And I think the being proactive against cancer and trying to bring awareness to it is some way making me feel like I'm doing something, and I'm not just letting her sit there and cry. And these events, to help the hospitalized children. We do these events about every 3.5 months. And again, our next one's in Chicago. But, we raise money for hospitalized children, whether they need, and my thing with hers, hospitals, they need a pediatric MRI machine. For people who hear this, they may think, oh, a pediatric MRI machine, oh, that's not a big deal. But keep in mind, you have babies that are newly born, immunocompromised, and especially if they have leukemia, if they have cancer that has just broke their immune system, or the chemotherapy they're going through, having to contaminate and go across a hospital to the adult section where you have a lot of people being treated with diseases and COVID, the time of COVID and all this stuff around, and their little immune system can't do anything. So there's not enough sanitization or however you want to say it, to clean these things and be put into an adult MRI machine. If a child ends up getting COVID or C. diff, which anyone who works in a hospital, they know what that is, but it's a very bad thing for a child to get, especially one that's got already has medical issues going on. But it happens often. And, that would just break a parent who's already going through enough, and definitely hurt that child. So these fundraisers, we do this to help for situations like that, and that's in a pediatric MRI machine is not cheap.
No, they're not. I can't even imagine the price tag on one, because there's so few in a hospital. Like you said, they're already taking pediatric patients down to the adult one because
it's in the millions.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, if you're talking in the millions, and then we're only getting so much for research, it's, goes back to what you said before, that we really need to increase funding. That sucks up a lot of money. How many hospitals are you going to give a MRI machine to? But that actually just focuses on research. So it's really difficult. It really is.
Yeah. Well, with the research being the primary thing, and then it's the whole thing of getting more children out of the hospital. And if finding a cure, which I hope to see in my lifetime, that's the best absolute outcome, But again, even lessening the treatment from 2.5 years to 1 year, even finding less harmful medications, or ones that, won't cause your child to vomit all the time, or cause your child to have sores inside their GI tract and stuff, even stuff like that. So it's just making progress in general to help lessen the
Yeah.
effects of cancer.
Yeah.
Even if,
Or even the long-term side effects, because a lot of people don't understand that there are significant long-term side effects,
oh
regardless
yeah,
of what cancer you're diagnosed with. It's going to, anything from infertility to pulmonary heart disease.
yeah,
It's things that people don't understand because there's not enough research going into it, and the side effects are horrendous
hmm,
for children, and long-term side effects after the care. And then you also have, like we talked about earlier, the scanxiety and being really nervous about each scan and trying to even get through the night sometimes is so hard. And then you're drained the next
hmm,
day, and you're trying to comfort your child. I think you
yeah.
have blood tests, right?
Yeah, well, we do. The thing that I think gets us the most is the punctures, the lumbar punctures. Is
Oh,
her particular
geez.
age too, is because they have to put her to sleep, and
Oh,
it's you just think about the effects of being put to sleep every, it was every 2 weeks, and then it starts to lessen as time goes on. But because they have to infuse chemo in her blood, she has a report, but they also have to put it in her spinal fluid. So she has to have an infusion in her spine. And, as a parent, that's a crazy feeling. And when they put them to sleep, they push the propofol, which, working in the hospital, I'm very familiar with it. And they fall limp in your arms, and you're just like, your heart drops, and you have to,
yeah.
put them there and just go in the other room and do something to keep your mind busy. And you cry and you think about it, mostly because she's so small. But yeah, that's probably I think the worst thing for us is having to do that.
Yeah, one of the most chilling things for me was the first time I experienced my son being put under, and yeah, the body just goes lifeless, and
Hmm,
it's so limp, and it's for lack of a better word, dead weight. And
hmm,
I was just so in shock that the doctors and nurse practitioners came over and they had to take him because I was frozen. I was absolutely frozen.
hmm.
Um, yeah, but like you said, it's a trauma. Everything we go through is a trauma.
The infertility you were talking about too, I wanted to say, so with us in the bone marrow transplant, as soon as you have a bone marrow transplant, you're not going to have children.
Oh,
And that's something that people don't realize. And that's something hard for the parent, but not understanding of the kids. So Esther, who was speaking on, her child having leukemia, that was something that she said she remembered the doctor trying to have a conversation and saying that you'll not be able to have kids anymore. And, she was 6 at the time. So that's like, they're not going to understand that. But at the same time, it breaks the parents' heart. But that's a long-term effect to know that your child's whole life will be changed. And I'll tell you personally, working in the hospital on the adult side, we had people, because I worked all over the hospital, but as soon as they came in, and yes, if they were on chemo at any point in their past, they had issues that were caused from their chemo. We had a lot of liver failure, a lot of kidney failure. A lot of things happen that people don't think about during the process of chemo that will damage them, and 5, 10, 15 years down the road, they're end up having to be dialyzed, for 3 times a week for the rest of their life. So, yeah.
yeah, it's hard. It's hard. It's almost like their future is paved out for them.
Yeah.
Um, and Chad change. Tell me about Chad change.
So Chad Change started off as just like 5 influencers, or 5 people from social media, basically. And I was on a live, and, there was a lot of bullying and stuff, and still a lot of bullying that goes on social media. And I was like, you know what? How about we stick together? If you make a post, I'll show you love on your post, you share it with me, and I'll share mine with you. And, we can be a team or whatever who, makes each other feel good. We build each other up. We give, confidence and compliment each other. And that's how it started. It was just 5 people. And then people saw what we were doing, and they were like, I want to join. I want to join. I want to join. I want to do it. So my story about my wife prior to being married to Mia's mom, which we're divorced now, but she had passed away, and depression and suicide is something very real. So I noticed personally doing this, that there were a lot of people in this group that were depressed or suicidal. Or I was telling a story, and one day was brave enough to talk about my wife passing. And when I did, somebody else spoke up and talked about theirs. And then being able to relate with each other like this, like childhood cancer, does the world a difference for helping someone. Because you can't help anybody if you have no experience in that situation. I can't talk to anyone. I can't talk to a lady and, talk to them about having infertility issues because I don't know what it feels like. I've never been through it, so there's no way they would just be like, oh yeah, okay, I relate with you. It's the fact that, this person went through what you went through, and you're going to listen to them. You're going to take everything that they say with more value. And that will help you through when you say, I've been through an abusive relationship before and I made it through, and you're going to be okay. That takes more weight than somebody who's never been through an abusive relationship and they're telling you it's going to be okay. So I was like, okay, I'm going to put them all in groups, and I would put them in groups, and I tried to set the people who had whatever personal issues, or whether it was emotional abuse, physical abuse, suicide, depression, anxiety, and try to group everyone into groups where they would mesh together and relate with one another and tell their stories. Because I always tell everyone, we all have some story that's not great in our life. We have bad stories, but your bad story can be used to help others. And that's the good side of it. Take it, go out there and tell that story, and let those people know that they're going to be okay, and that you went through it and you made it through, and you're good, and they'll be fine too. So that's how it started. And then Mia was diagnosed with cancer. We were already doing things to help with our positive lifestyle living that we were trying to do. And one of them was helping a different charity every month. So we would go live and have all the chat change go live, and we'd all, rake in donations for whatever charity or nonprofit that we chose to do it for. And then, of course, we shifted more toward children. And what I found personally with dealing with people that are going through depression, the best thing for them has been helping others, because there's a certain type of satisfaction, a certain type of gratefulness that you get from helping someone else, and they come back to you and they say, you know what, you saved my life. You did something, and they break down in tears. I would teach these Zoom dances. It was all about being happy. It wasn't about dance. Like, we sucked. we couldn't dance. I'm not a good dancer. I'm an okay dancer who just started dancing on TikTok. But that wasn't my message. It wasn't about being a good dancer. It was about laughing, about having fun, and how important it was to be able to laugh every day. And that's what we did. And we would laugh and act silly and dress up and be like, all right, we're going to have a dance battle, and just go crazy, doing whatever. And we had fun. And I noticed it started to change the whole attitude of everyone in Chat Change. And then that on top of giving back. So, when Mia was diagnosed, of course, their hearts are with mine, because they see my whole lifestyle, my whole journey and everything. And we decided we were going to help these hospitalized children, and started, we took a meetup, and you'll have a lot of social media influencers that'll do like, I'm going to do a TikTok meetup or something, but this is different. So ours wasn't about going and meeting everyone. That was great, but it was about going and being together to do something great for these children. And it started with Mia's hospital, and we did one in Chattanooga. And, we have with like 10 or 12 hosts, what we call host creators. And these are the social media influencers. And then we have about 100 social media, I don't want to say influencers, but people that are on social media, just supporters, I guess, is that what you would call them. And it's been great though, because we all got together and we watched these videos, and I shared this journey, and the hospital representative will speak about their needs, and everyone's in tears and crying, and we're all live to raise donations. But it's one of those feelings that you definitely take away from, that you're making a difference, and you're doing something good with your life, and you feel good about it, and you start to get your confidence back. And then we went to Vegas, we went to New York, we're doing Chicago next. And Chicago is going to be a big one. Like, it's going to be our biggest one. and the really nice events. They're like red carpet type events. But, I love what we're doing, and I love the fact that Chad Change, we are a nonprofit, and I love the fact that we're the only and the original that has done this, and we'll continue to do this. And now we're actually getting help and stuff from brands and things like that. So it's like a business, but not. And then all the money is going to the good of, not the side of social media. It's not for dancing anymore, but but it's for the kids,
Mm-hmm.
And because I don't plan on stopping if, even if we get this bill passed and let's say that we do find a cure in 10 years, my thing is I want people to realize I understand you as a parent, that your child's suffering through anything. Autism. We got a lot of parents with autistic children in Chad Change that I feel for how hard it must be for them to go through. Again, not the same situation. I can't say that I empathize completely because I don't know their story because I haven't went through it, but I can say as a parent, that part and what I see, it must be very hard. But, I plan on trying to help every child that I could or possibly reach throughout this whole process. So Chad Change is about helping hospitalized children. And me personally, and sharing Mia's journey is about helping, children with cancer. So that's two things, the difference, I should say, about the Chad Change that people don't realize. But it all started off as helping grownups who were depressed and needing someone to talk to. And we found out helping others helps us. So
Kind of like a give forward type of thing.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful mission. You're helping others through your own stories. Thank you so much for being here. Do you have any last words?
No, not that I can think of.
I always end on like a kind of a twist, asking you guys, my guests, some questions. Are you up for it?
Yeah.
All right. Just as quick as you can. What do you, I'll ask a couple questions and you just give me the answer. And would you rather read minds or tell the future?
Would I rather read minds or tell the future? I would probably tell the future. You mean like see the future before?
It's however you want to interpret it.
Yeah, I would probably tell the future because, there would be things that I guess I can warn people of or whatever to help people, as opposed to telling minds or reading minds presently. That's everyone else's mind or everyone else's information. I don't know what I could do with that.
It can be scary too. So if you had a song that could represent your life right now, what would it be?
My life right now would be Stand Up.
All right. And if you could write a book about yourself, what would the title be? It doesn't have to be about yourself, but if you could write a book, what would it be?
The places we never knew we would be. You have no idea.
Catchy title. And if you could meet anybody in the world, who would it be?
Ellen DeGeneres. Yeah, I'm from New Orleans and she's from that area, but I love Ellen. She basically I'm her crush. Her story is amazing too, if anybody has ever heard of it. But
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, thank you for playing with me and ending on a positive note. And I appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Living with Scanxiety. Please subscribe to hear more informative discussions like today's.